Boy, oh boy, you probably need to sit down for this one. You see, today we're talking about a topic that's going to put quite a number of people on opposite sides of the fence. And I'm pretty sure by the end of this video, there's going to be very interesting opinions for everyone to read in the comments. This is the Black Panther, an interesting character with a strong origin deeply rooted in Africa. A character which was brought into Hollywood movies to propel the newly found vision and support for people of color in digital media. A character that redefined what cultural diversity and inclusion means and how important it is for people who look like me to see a reflection of themselves in blockbuster movies across the world and share similarities like accent and skin tone with comic book characters who have always been predominantly white since we started reading comic books as children. And this is what the character has been turned to. Hey, how's it going and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about how one person's triggering depiction of the Black Panther as an adult white person, I'm not sure what his pronouns are yet, caused an entire ruckus on Twitter and got people barking at each other's necks and just ready to draw swords and go to war. Evil, who goes by the username Evil Art on Twitter and other social media platforms, made this image of a Caucasian Black Panther and apparently labeled it as his tribute to T'Challa, who is the original Black Panther. And after thinking thoroughly about this extremely controversial idea that could cause African American people and other people of color to refute his tribute and just immediately get mad at him, he decided to go on with it anyway. He posted the image on Twitter with the caption, "I drew Black Panther from the recent hit movie Black Panther. He's a really cool guy. Haven't seen the movie yet. I hope I didn't mess anything up." What is really funny about this situation is this image was drawn in 2018, and I'm guessing this was shortly after the Black Panther movie came out, which was just a wrong time to make something like this and post it anywhere online, since it was probably one of the most successful movies where a proper black superhero was brought to the big screen in an extremely popular franchise to represent people of color. So obviously an image like that will stir up a ruckus, and people will immediately refer to it as whitewashing, especially since the canon Black Panther mantle has always been mostly held by T'Challa and previously his father, both of whom were black, and the only time the Black Panther was a white person in the comics, he was mostly referred to as White Tiger instead of the canon name Black Panther. So we could just automatically assume the writers saved the name Black Panther for a black person. But like every good joke, there is always a twist. Marvel recently announced their new spin-off series called What If, where they basically played around with different characters, reenacted different events that happened in the cinematic universe, but played them out in different scenarios, just giving room for exploring new possibilities. Hence the name What If. In this new series, there is an episode where Steve gets injured and then Peggy becomes the Captain America. In another episode, the Avengers are mysteriously killed. Then Loki comes down to Earth to avenge Thor and ends up ruling Earth after the battle, and T'Challa becomes Star-Lord instead of the Black Panther. As you can see, they're not totally bad for spin-off ideas, and the stories are actually kinda good. But trust the internet, when something is going too good, there's always going to be that Twitter user that digs up something from the past to stir up some drama. A Twitter user found this image of White Panther. No one knows how, and for all we may know, he may have had the image since and was just waiting for the right moment to share it again to fuel more hate and violence on Twitter. Whoever made this needs to get arrested. Funny how a simple sentence can set the tone for an entire situation. That little statement was enough to get everyone triggered, and people just immediately started reacting with different opinions. I feel like I need a shower after looking at this. You probably needed a shower before looking at it. I mean, I love T'Challa being Star-Lord, but why would having the reverse in the show be bad? I'm not trying to support this, but it just sounds like a weird argument to say something like it or whatever. But maybe I'm just a dumbass. Can you see what's going on here? So the argument is T'Challa can't be Star-Lord and everyone will be cool with it. But when Star-Lord or any other white person becomes the Black Panther, everyone just goes nuts over it. It is an abomination. Race swapping guide. White to whatever ethnicity equals stunning, brave, and groundbreaking. But whatever ethnicity to white equals evil, word ending in ist or ism, basically genocide. How is this a big deal even? Arresting someone because that person made a what if fan art of Black Panther was portrayed by a white person? The arguments I read against it are inconsistent and hypocritical. I know why I wouldn't be for it, but because I don't like established characters changed. However, one has to be consistent, can't cherry pick. So basically everyone is angry. On one hand, we have people who are losing their shits over this and just can't stand the sight of a white person wielding the shield of the Black Panther. And on the other hand, we have the people who are calling BS and accusing the other people of hypocrisy. So right now it's just a giant tug of war and I'm sitting there in the middle like... These people are having bants and just furiously quarreling over fan art on Twitter while there's a whole video of an Arabian Spider-Man literally just doing whatever.
Assalamu alaikum sister, how are you? Where is your hijab? Ramadan. Leave her alone. And hey, don't worry about it, malak duck.
Alright, now let's take a look at what is making everyone so angry. First off, what is pissing off the first set of people is they believe the Black Panther is canonically a black person, so the idea of having a white person in the suit is just triggering and inappropriate. To them, race swapping an originally black character is absurd, just like the meaning of race swapping itself. So their best bet is to resort to gatekeeping and just arguing with everyone who does not agree to their stance that the Black Panther must and always be a black person, regardless of the context, which is kind of understandable. They will literally create a dumpster fire and call everyone out in the Marvel Studios if they made a cameo of a Caucasian Black Panther in any of the What If spin-offs. And the second group of people are just literally angry because they think it is hypocrisy when everyone is applauding a Black Star-Lord and automatically just agreeing it's cool, but then when the roles are reversed, the same people are just totally angry about it. And I can totally see the point why they think this is frustrating. It is not even a surprise in pop culture anymore. Whenever a character from any intellectual property, regardless if it's popular or not, is race swapped or drawn by an artist as a black person, the majority of people do not have a problem with it, and it is always received with open arms and liked by everybody. This is mostly due to the fact that people of color are underrepresented in video games and other media, so artists tend to draw their own interpretations of these characters, giving them dark skin and drawing different fan art of them, which is widely accepted since it is the artist's own headcanon of the character. But when it happens to be an originally black character that gets swapped, it's always just a problem, which is really confusing and completely blurs the line between what can be called fan art and what is actually blackwashing or whitewashing. I think an interesting way to look at it would be to consider if the skin tone and race of the character is particularly important to the story and also plays a big role in the character's arc. Then I believe it cannot be changed or altered to suit a different subplot, since doing that automatically loses the originality of the character and exposes race-driven loopholes that could have been in the plot, since each race experiences events and situations in a totally unique and different way from the other. I think this explanation I found in an argument on Reddit explains my point further. I think changing the color of a well-established character's skin is a lazy way to have diversity. It's an insult to proper diversity. Black characters should stand on their own. When you race bend a character to be black, all you did was give a white person the race of a black person. There's virtually no breakthrough. I prefer original people of color characters to be made, not only because it breaks new ground, but because original characters last longer than film adaptations. Film adaptations often get rebooted or forgotten, so original characters last far longer, which actually makes an interesting point. Now, using this logic, if Morpheus in The Matrix was race swapped to a white person, it will have no effect on the story and the events will probably play out the same way as they did in the initial movies. But if Django was race swapped with a Caucasian male, the entire premise of the story will be completely awkward and the plot will be meaningless since the actions of the character will have almost no repercussions and motivation in the movie. In my book, it's totally fine if this is done with characters who aren't well established, like Nick Fury for example. He wasn't very well established in the first place, so a lot of work still had to be done to make the new version of his character good. Doing it with well-established characters is lazy. Plus, race bending simply isn't faithful to the source material. Characters who were race bent are often defended by newcoming fans who aren't fans of the source material by saying, accept it. It's not a big deal, because they can't possibly understand what the source material means to some. This is such a confusing topic to talk about, to be honest, and I'm sure it would be best if everyone just stuck to the original source material, since swapping to any race is always going to be received with annoyance and called hypocrisy, especially if it is predominantly a black character. But this still begs the question, is drawing fan art and changing the race of characters for your own headcanon still blackwashing or whitewashing? Or is it just admissible as fan art, since technically it's not official artwork for the franchise or intellectual property? I for one have learned to enjoy artwork without a bias or letting the color of the skin tone influence my opinion if the art is good or not, especially if it is fan art done with good intentions. But I believe the most rewarding way of promoting diversity in media is not by changing the race or gender of already established characters, but by creating new original characters and giving them traits and personalities that we can relate to and are true to us, instead of patronizing people of color by forcing diversity in places where it doesn't even fit the premise of the story and just looks out of place and unnecessary. And what we don't even want to see at all and consider hypocrisy and arrogance is people using gender bending and race bending to prove how morally correct they are by indiscriminately fixing other people's artwork on their own accord and claiming their own versions accurately represent what the character or drawing stands for without respecting the original artist's work. I kinda agree with you, yeah. I really hate when people try to have the moral high ground and begin policing what's okay and what's not okay. Who are they to police that? In my opinion, gender bending, aka Rule 63, and race bending are 100% okay, regardless of how you do it. Art is a form of expression and exploration, and we can't go around restricting what can be done. That's a fair point. I don't think race bending in either direction is good, but I'd much rather people were 100% okay with both directions, rather than okay with one, but not the other. And obviously, intention is important too. If someone changes a character's race because they're towards their canon race, that's not okay. If you just want to do a version where everyone's race is swapped just for the hell of it, fine. But I think it's safe to say that yes, there is a double standard here. And if we're comfortable with having a canonically white character being swapped with a black person for fan fiction, then we should react the same way when the tables are turned. Most of the time, these studios keep making these changes to appease other races and genders, ignoring the fact that most of these changes can be illogical and just offensive. Yes, a black Superman or Batman will be cool, but you know what's cooler? An original character that shares similarities and faces the same conflict as real people of color. This will be much more appreciated than another cape-wearing superhero that shares the same color of skin with us, but we just cannot relate to him. Anyways, I'm glad you made it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like and subscribe to my channel if you are new here. And if you want to support the channel or help an African prince, you can always do that by buying me a coffee using the link in the description. And with all that being said, I will see you in the next video. Peace.